Welcome back to Mellor Golf. Today I want to take a look at club release and provide you a couple of reference points to help you with the release of your club in the downswing moving into impact. Most players are pretty aware of how the club release relates very much to the quality of the impact and the quality of the golf shot. So hopefully today, with these reference points and a couple of drills that I'm going to provide as well, you'll be able to improve your club release and improve your ball strike. Thanks once again for tuning in. So hopefully today you can take away a point or two to help you with your club release and how that relates to your impact position and better golf shots. Before we get into the main content of the video, please do check out the new Mellor Golf website. There's a few different options there now as far as like working with me online and in person, where you can have a monthly membership and get consistent contact with me throughout the month. It's more of a coaching experience. So if you want my take on your game and you want support to help you to improve your game throughout this season, check out ianmellorgolf.com. Okay, so as far as club release, very fortunate to get that data on the Ball 3D system that I have. So I've 3D'd a lot of players, and with each player I often start off with looking at how they're releasing the club because of how influential that is on the player's ball striking. So obviously then, having looked at the release, I can then go deeper into the player's swing and look at their movement and how their movement is influencing the club release. However, simply by helping players be more aware of what good ball strikers do with their release pattern, it gives them a starting ground. It builds a bit of awareness of where you want the club in space in relation to your body. So let's start off today by simply highlighting probably the most common reference point that I look at with good ball strikers, or just with all players in their downswing. So with really good iron play, what I'll see with players when the club is releasing is that they won't start actually pulling back on the handle. So you could say that's actively releasing the club head until the club gets about parallel to the ground in downswing. With a lot of players that early release, you'll see that club head start to move this way very early. So that's probably a visual that many players, if you look at swings, that you can kind of connect with. So what we see with good players is that they start pulling back on the handle, which releases the club at about club shaft parallel to the ground. So there's a number of exercises and drills I'm going to provide related to that position in just a moment, but I want to provide you one more reference point, because I find that players working on their club release can get very good at the awareness here, but then they don't know what to do moving into and through the shot. And often the reason for that is because players that release early often then compensate by holding with their arms coming into it and then last minute releasing the club head. So there's a lot of hand action through the shot. And when you see a player moving that way, so we get early release and they tend to hold, and then they often back up to release coming into the shot. So very different pattern than what we would like to see. So once a player gets in downswing here, let's just say they get to a point where the club is starting to release more after the club shaft is parallel to the ground, what I tend to see then is almost a very, very low amount of hand action in relation to players that are very active through the ball. And the reason that the hand action is very low is simply because the body is moving well through the hitting area. So simple reference for players to check, let's say we get good here, is that I find that by the time the hands are on the ball, the club is in front of the trail foot. So often players that are used to releasing it early, they then can get into a phase where they're holding it too much, and I see that really regularly. So if we can get here and then learn to rotate with the body, so when the hands are on the ball, the club is on the trail foot, that's going to be helpful, I find, for a lot of players, building the awareness of how the club releases into impact. A couple of simple reference points just leading into impact. So being able to rehearse that stuff slow motion, I find for players, is just very helpful in building that awareness of what's actually happening moving into the shot. So let me give you a couple of exercises now to help with that. One of them is, we're going to start off with just it's a split grip drill. So one thing that's really helpful in getting this position here is allowing the trail arm to accelerate, or the different segments of the trail arm to accelerate how you'd see, in a throw or any other kind of like hitting action. So you can see there how it's almost like the upper arm leads, then the forearm, then the hand would release. So there's a certain sequence that we want the trail arm to work in downswing. So split grip here, we're going to go up to, let's just say trail hand is about the height of the shoulder, and then we're going to accelerate quickly down, stop the club parallel to the ground, and you see the length through my trail arm there. So getting that trail arm along there is something that can help us get into that position where we can get the club releasing at the right time through the downswing. So a split grip drill is great for that. Another one very, very similar is a med ball throw, where we throw the ball into the ground down behind us. So if I hold the ball here, go up against the shoulder high, I'm throwing the ball down just outside my foot and then taking a grip here. I'll show you that one more time. So this one, very important to hold the position with your body once you've thrown the ball down, and then just take a grip there and just kind of reference how that might feel. And then from there, again, I would encourage to almost imagine how you're going to move into impact from that new position, because so many players, they actually start to get into a better spot, but they just don't know where to go from there. Okay, and then the last one, trail arm focus yet again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this rubber tubing, or it could be an exercise band. I'm going to put it around my back. I'm going to put my thumb, my lead hand through it there. And what I'm going to do with this exercise is I'm going to go to the top of my backswing, and I'm actually going to feel as though I lengthen the band moving down into that position. Lots of players that tend to release and hold tend to get narrow so the band wouldn't lengthen. So I'm going to go to the top of backswing, feel as though I lengthen that band by straightening the trail arm and get into that position there. And what's really cool with this one is if you rotate, it will shorten the band a little bit getting into there, but you'll definitely feel as though you're keeping more length than probably you're used to moving into the shot. So 3 great drills there. When you're out on the course, the reference points I find can be the most helpful. So to the top, letting the trail arm lengthen, feeling though you're in that spot there where the club shaft is parallel to the ground. That's when you're going to start pulling back up on the handle. You can check the reference points here around your trail foot, and in doing all of that, you should be able to find that you can get some nice strikes on the ball with a better club delivery.